In the cold expanse of space, the stars whispered secrets to those who could listen. On the edge of the Orion Arm, humanity's farthest reach, Outpost Delta 7 orbited a quiet, icy planet. It was a speck of light in the overwhelming darkness, home to a crew of researchers, engineers, and the occasional traveler seeking respite from the bustling trade routes. Commander Alice Marquez, a veteran of space's silent wars, led Delta 7. She was a daughter of Earth's rugged mountains, now a denizen of the stars, her eyes accustomed to the digital glow of command consoles rather than the warmth of a terrestrial sun. Her crew respected her, not just for her decisive leadership, but for her unwavering commitment to exploration and peace in the galaxy's uncharted territories. It was during a routine systems check, a mundane Tuesday, when the distress signal hit their sensors like a cry in the night. The console blinked urgently, a beacon that could not be ignored. The signal was weak, fractured by distance and cosmic interference, yet its origin was unmistakable. The Graxian homeworld. The Graxians were known throughout the galaxy. Tall, with scales that shimmered like precious stones under their twin suns, they were a proud warrior species. Their technology was advanced, their military mighty, and their tolerance for what they perceived as weakness, particularly from the human race, was notoriously low. Memories of past encounters, filled with disdain and thinly veiled threats, flooded Marquez's mind. Yet here was a plea, encoded in desperation. The message was fragmented, but its essence pierced through the static. Under attack, overwhelming force, immediate assistance required. Marquez's heart skipped. The Graxians asking for help? From anyone, let alone humans? The universe indeed had a sense of irony. She contemplated the signal, aware of its implications. Assisting the Graxians could bridge the chasm of mistrust between their species, or it could be a trap, a desperate ploy in their darkest hour. Her decision came swiftly. "Plot a course to the Human Council," she ordered, her voice steady. "This goes beyond us." The journey to the Council was a blur of starlines and silent prayers. The crew understood the gravity of their discovery, the weight of the decision that lay ahead. The Council's response was predictably cautious, but the undercurrent of opportunity, of changing the galactic narrative, was too potent to ignore. Admiral Luna Zheng, with her keen strategic mind and a heart as vast as space itself, was chosen to lead the response. A fleet was assembled, not the largest in the human arsenal, but swift and versatile, capable of rapid deployment and retreat if the situation soured. As they prepared to depart, Zheng addressed her crew, a mix of seasoned veterans and young cadets with more courage than experience. "We go not because it is easy, but because it is right," she said, echoing the ancient words of Earth's history. "We go to offer aid, to extend the hand of peace, even to those who have refused it. This is who we are." The fleet set off, a caravan of hope threading through the dark tapestry of space. Ahead lay uncertainty, a planet besieged by an unknown enemy, and the possibility of altering the galaxy's course. Delta 7, left to continue its watch on the frontier, sent them off with a silent salute. Commander Marquez watched the fleet disappear into the warp, a sense of pride mingling with her fears. In the vast, indifferent universe, humanity chose to be the light, to answer the call of the distressed, even when it came from the lips of their detractors. The beacon from the Graxian homeworld, once a mere whisper in the dark, now resounded like a drumbeat, calling the brave to action, to an encounter that would test the very essence of what it meant to be human. The Human Council's chambers, a vast circular room with a domed ceiling displaying a holographic projection of the galaxy, buzzed with an undercurrent of tension and anticipation. At the heart of the room, a holographic model of the Graxian homeworld spun slowly, its continents and oceans highlighted against the backdrop of space. Around it, the council members, representatives of Earth and its colonies, were gathered, their expressions ranging from concern to outright skepticism. Admiral Luna Zheng, standing before them, was the embodiment of calm resolve. Her reputation as a tactician and peacemaker preceded her, yet the task at hand was unlike any she had faced before. "The Graxians have never before asked for our help," she began, her voice echoing in the chamber. "This distress call is not just a plea for aid. It's a potential turning point in our relations with them, and indeed the entire galaxy." The council murmured among themselves. The Graxians' disdain for humans was no secret, stemming from centuries of territorial disputes and cultural misunderstandings. Their request for help was as surprising as it was suspicious. Counselor Jameson, a vocal skeptic, raised his concern. Admiral Jang, while your optimism is commendable, we must consider the possibility of a trap. The Graxians have never shown any inclination toward peace with us. Why should we risk our fleet, our people, on what could very well be a ploy? Jang nodded, acknowledging his point. I understand the risks, she replied, but consider the message we send by turning our backs on them. We have an opportunity to demonstrate the values we hold dear: compassion, bravery, and the pursuit of peace. If there's even a chance we can save lives, Graxian or otherwise, we must take it. The debate raged on, with arguments flaring and subsiding like the stars themselves. Ultimately, it was the potential for a galactic shift, the chance to foster peace where there was none, that swayed the Council. The decision was made. A fleet, led by Jung, would answer the Graxians' call. Preparations began immediately. The fleet assembled was not the mightiest in the human arsenal, but one tailored for speed, agility, and versatility. The ships, sleek and resilient, were equipped with the latest in human ingenuity: advanced medical facilities, cutting-edge defensive systems, and non-lethal crowd control options, emphasizing the mission's humanitarian nature. As the fleet prepared to depart, Jang gathered her officers for a briefing. The atmosphere was charged, a mix of excitement and solemnity. This mission will not be easy, she told them, her gaze sweeping over the faces before her. We're stepping into the unknown, but remember, we go not as conquerors or aggressors, but as helpers, as saviors. Our goal is to save lives, and if possible, to pave the way toward a lasting peace. The fleet's departure was a silent affair, watched by millions across the human territories. There were no grand speeches or parades, just a collective holding of breath, a hope whispered against the vastness of space. As the ships slipped into the warp, bound for the Graxian homeworld, a single thought united the crew. They were the unlikely heroes, venturing into the maw of the unknown. Not for glory, not for conquest, but because when the galaxy called, only the cowardly humans had the courage to answer. The journey through warp space was a silent, eerie passage, a bubble of reality speeding through the impossible. Inside the fleet's flagship, the Vanguard Admiral Luna Jang stood at the observation deck, staring into the swirling vortex of colors beyond the transparent alloy. Her crew moved with quiet efficiency around her, each person aware of the gravity of their mission. As the fleet emerged from warp space at the edge of the Graxian system, what greeted them was a scene of chaos and destruction. Jang's first glimpse of the Graxian homeworld was obscured by the debris of what used to be ships and satellites, a graveyard floating in the silent expanse of space. The planet itself bore scars visible even from orbit, vast swaths of land scorched black, and cities reduced to rubble. It was clear the Graxians were not just asking for help. They were on the brink of annihilation. The enemy was revealed in the flashes of combat on the planet's surface and in orbit: the Vorax. Nothing more than a name and scattered reports had reached human space about these beings before now. They were a race of mechanical horrors, each unit a nightmare amalgamation of metal and malevolent intent. The Vorax swarm, as Jung quickly termed it, seemed to be a single, purpose-driven entity, its units coordinating with terrifying efficiency, disassembling planets and civilizations to fuel their endless expansion. Jang's fleet was spotted almost immediately upon arrival, drawing a portion of the Vorax swarm toward them. The humans had expected a fight, but the ferocity and sheer number of the attackers were beyond anything they had imagined. The Vanguard and its companions danced a deadly ballet, dodging and weaving through the enemy onslaught, their weapons firing continuously but barely making a dent in the Vorax numbers. It was during these first harrowing moments of combat that the Graxians made their presence known. A squadron of battered but still formidable Graxian warships, their hulls scarred from countless engagements, emerged from the shadow of a moon, joining the fray. Their arrival was not a moment too soon, providing a much-needed reprieve for the human fleet. Admiral Jang, seizing the opportunity, initiated a risky maneuver. Broadcasting on all channels, she reached out to the Graxian fleet. Graxian commanders, this is Admiral Luna Jang of the Human Coalition. We have come in response to your distress call. We need to coordinate our efforts if we are to have any hope of saving your planet. The reply was a long time coming, tense minutes in which the fate of two species hung in balance. Finally, a gruff voice crackled through the comm. Admiral Jang, this is General Vrastar. Your courage is noted. We accept your offer. Let us strike these abominations together. The ensuing battle was a testament to desperation and newfound camaraderie. The human fleet, utilizing their mobility and advanced shielding, drew the attention of the Vorax, opening gaps in their formations for the Graxian warships to exploit with their superior firepower. It was a strategy born of necessity, each side complementing the other's strengths and weaknesses. As the last of the Vorax units in the immediate vicinity were destroyed or driven off, a momentary silence fell over the battlefield. The Vanguard and the Graxian flagship, the Pride of Graxia floated side by side, a silent acknowledgement of their mutual survival and the beginning of a fragile alliance. Admiral Zheng and General Vrakstar, speaking over a secure channel, formulated a plan. The human fleet would assist in evacuating civilians from the most devastated areas, while the Graxians would focus on rallying their remaining forces for a counterattack. It was a daunting task, and success was far from assured. But for the first time since the Vorax invasion began, there was a glimmer of hope. The battle for the Graxian homeworld had just begun, and the humans, once derided as cowards, were now at the forefront of the fight. In the dark expanse of space, a new chapter in galactic history was being written, forged by the fires of war and an unlikely alliance between former foes. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, hovered in the relative safety of the Graxian homeworld's upper atmosphere. Below, the planet was a tapestry of destruction and resistance. Pockets of Graxian forces held out against the relentless Vorax onslaught, but it was clear that without a significant shift in strategy, these bastions of hope would soon fall. Admiral Luna Zheng, her face a mask of determination and fatigue, convened a strategic meeting aboard the Vanguard. The room was filled with human officers and, in a historic first, several Graxian commanders. Their presence, a stark visual of the newfound alliance, spoke volumes of the desperation that had driven these two species together. General Vrakstar, the Graxian military leader, laid out the grim reality. Our conventional forces are outmatched. The Vorax adapt too quickly. What we need is a new approach, something they can't anticipate. Zheng nodded, her mind racing. Humanity's strength had always been its ingenuity, its ability to think outside conventional warfare paradigms. We need to use that strength now, she proposed. The Vorax are a hive mind, centralized intelligence. If we can disrupt their communication, even momentarily, we can sow confusion and break their coordination. The humans had brought with them a suite of electronic warfare capabilities not previously deployed in Graxian defenses. Admiral Zheng proposed a daring plan, a series of EMP, electromagnetic pulse traps set around key strongholds and evacuation routes. These devices, engineered to temporarily disable electronic systems, would be devastating to the mechanically minded Vorax, offering windows of opportunity for strikes or retreats. The Graxians, though initially skeptical of relying on what they perceived as indirect tactics, were persuaded by Zheng's conviction and the promise of a new advantage. Teams of human engineers, escorted by Graxian soldiers, began the hazardous work of setting up EMP devices across strategic locations, often under the cover of darkness to avoid Vorax patrols. Meanwhile, Admiral Zheng mobilized a contingent of small, agile ships from her fleet. These ships, designed for rapid maneuvers and short, intense engagements, were tasked with luring Vorax forces into the EMP kill zones. It was a high-risk strategy, requiring precision and a level of coordination between the human and Graxian forces that had never before been attempted. The first test of this new strategy came swiftly. A large Vorax contingent, drawn by a feint executed by the human ships, advanced on a key Graxian stronghold. As they crossed the threshold into the trap zone, the EMPs were detonated. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Vorax units, their systems overloaded by the electromagnetic pulse, fell from the sky or froze in place, their coordination shattered. Graxian forces lying in wait surged forward, capitalizing on the chaos. It was the first significant victory since the Vorax invasion began, a testament to the effectiveness of the human Graxian strategy and a beacon of hope in a seemingly endless night. In the days that followed, the strategy of EMP traps and hit-and-run tactics was deployed across multiple fronts, each time forcing the Vorax to regroup and reevaluate. Admiral Zheng's plan, bold and unconventional, had given the defenders a much-needed edge, turning the tide of the battle in ways that brute force and direct confrontation had failed to achieve. Yet, despite these victories, everyone knew that the war was far from over. The Vorax were learning, adapting to the new human tactics with frightening speed. It was only a matter of time before they devised countermeasures, and the Alliance would need to be ready with yet another unexpected move. For now, however, Admiral Zheng allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Against the backdrop of a war-torn planet, an unlikely alliance had found strength in diversity, combining their unique abilities to forge a new path forward. It was a small victory in the grand scheme, but in the dark vastness of space, even the smallest light of hope could illuminate the way to salvation. In the weeks following the implementation of the EMP strategy, the Human-Graxian Alliance began to see a shift in the dynamics of the war. The Vorax, though still a formidable threat, had been forced into a defensive posture for the first time since their invasion began. This unexpected turn of events allowed the Allied forces to regroup and refine their tactics, further integrating human technology and ingenuity with Graxian firepower and resilience. Admiral Luna Zheng, ever the strategist, knew that this advantage was temporary. The Vorax were adapting, their attempts to counter the EMP traps growing more sophisticated with each engagement. It was a race against time, a window of opportunity that needed to be exploited to its fullest. Zheng convened a meeting with her senior officers and their Graxian counterparts, proposing a bold next step. Our EMP traps have given us the breathing room we needed, but we can't rely on them indefinitely. It's time to take the offensive, to hit the Vorax where they're weakest. The plan was audacious. Human engineers working alongside Graxian scientists had developed a virus specifically designed to target the Vorax hive mind's communication network. This virus, once deployed, would disrupt the Vorax's ability to coordinate, turning their greatest strength into their most crippling weakness. But delivering the virus would require a direct assault on a Vorax node, a heavily fortified position from where they coordinated their planetary assault. It was a suicide mission, but one that could potentially end the war. Volunteers for the mission were not hard to find. Among them was Captain Elena Santos, a skilled pilot and tactician who had lost family to the Vorax's initial assault. Leading a squadron of human and Graxian ships, Santos was tasked with breaching the Vorax defenses and delivering the virus. The operation was a desperate gambit, the Allied ships weaving through a maelstrom of fire and metal as they approached the Vorax node. Santos, her ship battered but unyielding, managed to penetrate the defenses and deploy the virus directly into the node's core. The effect was instantaneous. Across the planet, Vorax units halted, their movements becoming erratic as the virus spread through their network. Without their hive-mind coordination, they were vulnerable, isolated. Seizing the moment, the human and Graxian forces launched a coordinated counterattack. Ground forces, supported by aerial and orbital bombardments, began to reclaim lost territory, pushing the disoriented Vorax back with relentless determination. In the skies above, the tide of battle turned visibly in favor of the Alliance. The Vorax, once a seemingly unstoppable force, were now retreating, their units falling from the sky like rain. The Human-Graxian Alliance had achieved the impossible, breaking the back of the Vorax invasion through a combination of bravery, ingenuity, and unprecedented cooperation. As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted on both human and Graxian worlds. The Alliance had not only survived but triumphed, changing the course of the war in a way that few had dared to hope. Yet, even as they celebrated, Zheng and her counterparts knew that the war was not over. The Vorax were beaten, but not destroyed. The Alliance would need to remain vigilant, prepared for whatever came next. But for now, the victory was theirs, a testament to what could be achieved when former adversaries united against a common foe. The human and Graxian peoples, once divided by mistrust and prejudice, had discovered a new strength in their partnership, a bond forged in the heat of battle and solidified in the triumph over a seemingly invincible enemy. The tide had turned, but the war for the Graxian homeworld, and indeed the future of the galaxy, was far from over. The next challenge awaited, but for the first time, humanity and the Graxians faced it together as equals and allies. In the aftermath of their unprecedented victory, the Human-Graxian Alliance found themselves standing on a precipice. The defeat of the Vorax invasion force on the Graxian homeworld was a monumental achievement, yet it was clear that to secure lasting peace, they needed to strike at the heart of the Vorax threat. Intelligence gathered during the last battle pointed to a harrowing truth. The Vorax hive mind, the central intelligence controlling the swarm, was located deep beneath the planet's surface, in a network of caverns shielded against any form of long-range attack. This hive mind was the key to the Vorax's relentless coordination and adaptability. Destroying it could end the Vorax threat permanently. Admiral Luna Zhang and General Vraxtar, now allies bound by respect and shared struggle, convened a war council to plan their final assault. The mission was clear but daunting. Infiltrate the Vorax hive, navigate the perilous subterranean network, and deliver a series of charges powerful enough to destroy the hive mind. It was a suicide mission, with little chance of success or survival. Yet the call for volunteers was met with a flood of hands, human and Graxian alike, ready to risk everything for the faintest chance at victory. Captain Elena Santos, now a decorated hero of the Alliance, was chosen to lead the assault team. Beside her, Lieutenant Karshun, a Graxian commando whose bravery had turned the tide in more than one battle, would command the Graxian contingent. Together, they represented the best of their species, warriors united by a common cause. The plan was simple in concept, yet infinitely complex in execution. The team would approach the Vorax hive using stealth shuttles, landing as close to the entrance of the caverns as possible. From there, they would proceed on foot, navigating the labyrinthine tunnels, avoiding or engaging Vorax defenders, and planting the charges at critical points within the hive. The assault began under the cover of darkness, the shuttles descending silently through the night sky. The Vorax, ever vigilant, launched interceptors, but they were quickly engaged by a diversionary force, drawing them away from the true target. Santos, Karshun, and their team made landfall without incident, quickly disappearing into the mouth of the caverns. Inside, they found a world unlike any other, a biomechanical ecosystem serving the needs of the hive mind. Vorax drones, sensing the intrusion, swarmed in defense, but the team pressed forward, determined and undeterred. The further they ventured, the more intense the resistance became. Every step was contested, every meter gained paid for in blood and sacrifice. Santos and Karshun, leading from the front, displayed a level of bravery and leadership that inspired their team to push beyond their limits. After what seemed like an eternity, they reached the heart of the hive. The chamber was vast, a cathedral to the Vorax's collective consciousness, pulsating with energy. Here they encountered the final defense, a swarm of Vorax protectors surrounding the core. The battle was fierce, a maelstrom of fire and fury, but through sheer will and determination, the team fought their way to the center. With the charges set and the timer running, Santos gave the order to retreat, but it was clear that not all would make it out alive. As the charges detonated, collapsing the caverns and obliterating the Vorax hive mind, a silence fell over the planet. The Vorax, deprived of their central command, fell into disarray, their units ceasing hostilities or shutting down entirely. The cost was high, but the mission was a success. The Vorax threat was neutralized, their reign of terror over the Graxian homeworld brought to an end. Santos, Karshun, and a handful of survivors emerged from the ruins, heroes of a war that would be remembered for generations. The victory was bittersweet. Many lives had been lost, but in their sacrifice, a new hope was born. Humanity and the Graxians, once adversaries, had forged a bond in the fires of war, a testament to the power of unity and the indomitable spirit of those willing to stand against the darkness. As the sun rose over a liberated planet, Admiral Zhang and General Vraxtar stood side by side, watching as the first light of dawn pierced the shadows. The war was over, but the journey had just begun. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it was a future they would face together, as allies, as friends. In the wake of the Vorax hive's destruction, the Graxian homeworld began a slow, painful process of healing. The victory, though monumental, had left deep scars across the planet's surface and its inhabitants' hearts. Cities lay in ruins, ecosystems were ravaged, and countless lives were lost. Yet, amidst the devastation, a new foundation was being laid, one built on unity and mutual respect between humans and Graxians. Admiral Luna Zhang and General Vraxtar, once battlefield allies, now became architects of reconstruction. Their first task was to ensure the security of the Graxian homeworld, repurposing the remaining human fleet to assist in planetary defense and the clearing of Vorax remnants that still haunted the less accessible regions of the planet. The human-Graxian alliance, forged in the crucible of war, became a beacon of hope across the galaxy. News of their victory and the unprecedented cooperation between the two species spread far and wide, challenging long-held prejudices and inspiring other worlds to seek peaceful resolutions to their own conflicts. In the months that followed, delegations from various galactic powers visited the Graxian homeworld, bearing aid and the promise of new partnerships. A grand council was established, with representatives from both human and Graxian societies, to oversee the rebuilding efforts and lay the groundwork for a lasting peace. Admiral Zheng, hailed as a hero, remained humble in victory. "Our success," she often said, "was not the triumph of one species over another, but the triumph of unity over division, of courage over fear. We must remember the war was won not by strength of arms, but by strength of heart." The Graxians, for their part, were transformed by the events. The once proud and solitary warriors had come to value the strength that lies in diversity and cooperation. Memorials were erected, not just for the fallen Graxian heroes, but for their human comrades who had stood with them against the darkness. General Vraxtar, speaking at the unveiling of one such memorial, declared, "We were taught to believe in the supremacy of our strength, but we have learned that the greatest strength lies in the ability to unite for a common cause." As the planet rebuilt, so too did its people rebuild their lives. Communities, once defined by species, became mixed, with humans and Graxians living and working side by side. Shared experiences of loss and survival became the seeds of enduring friendships and bonds that transcended old prejudices. In the capital, a new monument was unveiled, a testament to the unity and sacrifice of all who had fought. It depicted a human and a Graxian hand, clasped in solidarity, reaching for the stars. Beneath it, an inscription read, "In memory of those who fell, and in celebration of the future they secured for us. Together, we rise." The war had ended, but the story of the human-Graxian alliance was just beginning. Together, they faced the daunting task of building a future that could honor the sacrifices made. It was a future fraught with challenges, but illuminated by a new light of understanding and cooperation. The galaxy watched, as from the ashes of conflict, a new era of peace and partnership began to emerge. The legacy of the war was not one of destruction and despair, but of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, unity can forge a path to a brighter tomorrow. The reconstruction of the Graxian homeworld had become a symbol of the newfound alliance's resilience and dedication to peace. Admiral Luna Zheng and General Vraxtar, once unlikely allies, now stood as pillars of a united front that had not only defended a world from annihilation, but was actively shaping a future where such threats might never arise again. As the first anniversary of the Vorax defeat approached, plans were set in motion for a ceremony that would not only commemorate the victory, but also celebrate the bonds formed between humanity and the Graxians. The event was to be held at the site of the new monument, a location chosen for its symbolic significance, overlooking the capital's rebuilding efforts. The ceremony attracted dignitaries from across the galaxy, eager to witness the formalization of the alliance that had changed the course of interstellar relations. Speeches were made, recounting the dark days of the war and the light that had emerged from the unity of two former rivals. But the highlight was the unveiling of a Charter of Alliance, a document crafted by both human and Graxian leaders, outlining the principles of their partnership and their commitment to mutual defense and prosperity. Admiral Zheng, addressing the gathered crowd, spoke not of past victories but of future challenges. "Today we stand on the brink of a new dawn," she began, her voice steady and clear. "The war taught us the value of unity and the strength that comes from embracing our differences. Our alliance is not just a shield against external threats, but a promise to ourselves to build a better future together." General Vraxtar echoed her sentiments, his deep voice resonating with the weight of experience. "Our peoples were once divided by mistrust and prejudice, but we have seen that it is possible to change. The path ahead will not be easy, but we walk it together as equals, as friends. Let this alliance be a beacon to the galaxy, a testament to what can be achieved when we cast aside division in favor of unity." The Charter of Alliance was signed beneath a sky lit by the setting sun, a moment immortalized in holophotos and broadcasts across the stars. It was a pledge not just between governments, but between peoples, a commitment to work together for a common future. In the days that followed, the ceremony became the catalyst for a series of agreements and partnerships between human and Graxian sectors, from trade and cultural exchanges to joint military training programs. The alliance, once a wartime necessity, had evolved into a dynamic, multifaceted partnership that promised to lead both species to new heights of achievement and understanding. As Admiral Zheng prepared to depart the Graxian homeworld, bound for Earth and her next assignment, she took a moment to look back at the planet that had become a second home. The cities rising from the ruins, the mixed crowds of humans and Graxians in the streets, the laughter of children playing together without a care for the differences that once might have divided their ancestors. All of it was a testament to the power of unity and the enduring spirit of cooperation. The war with the Vorax had been a crucible, a trial by fire that had burned away old enmities and forged something new and hopeful. As the Vanguard slipped into the warp, bound for the next horizon, Admiral Zheng knew that the legacy of the Alliance would be its contribution to a galaxy where peace was not just a dream, but a possibility, born of the courage to stand together against the darkness. And so, the chapter closed on the war that had brought humanity and the Graxians together, but it was merely the beginning of a larger story. A story of exploration, of shared challenges, and of the unbreakable bonds that can arise from the most unlikely of friendships. It was a new dawn, not just for two species, but for all the myriad peoples of the galaxy, looking to the stars with hope and determination.